revolution starts now.
Hi there, this is Billy Earl, and this is Eastern Shore Politics. We are in the presence of one of the leaders of the City Council. This is MUIR BODA. He is in his second term.
First term.
And we're going to talk about the trials and tribulations of being a politician. Thank you for coming. I sure do appreciate it. How did you just wake up one morning and say, hey, let's get on the City Council?
Well, didn't quite happen that way. I mean, it's I ran for the first time I ran for City Council was in 2009 and didn't win. Ran again in 2011, didn't win.
Okay.
In between there, I ran for Congress and I've run for County Council. And 2015,
you really got bitten by the bug, didn't you?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoy shows like this. I enjoy forums. I enjoy with the forums. I enjoy the debate of ideas and that sort of thing. And then 2015. In between there, I worked on a couple campaigns in 2014. Right. I worked with Carl Anderton. Actually, I ran for county council. Lost in the primary, and then spent the rest of the time knocking on doors for Carl and Mary Beth and some others, and Johnny Mouts, who's a really good friend. And so a lot of people that worked on Carl's campaign came and just rolled right in and helped me on mine. And had everybody from Carl and Mary Beth both knocked on doors for me, and even one day Congressman Harris came down, who was a former opponent several years ago, and knocked on doors for me.
I'm going to tell you something that I am positive you already know, but most of the people out there in the audience probably don't. When I was working for a candidate over in Ocean Pines, I walked that summer every house in Ocean Pines, and I called almost every house, so I had about 4,000 knocks and about 4,000 telephone calls. Every place I went, her material was already there, and it was personally signed. Yeah. I don't mean it was pre-printed with the, hey, I stopped by. She actually wrote on them.
Yeah.
I was astounded.
Yeah. She's a tireless worker.
Yeah.
And she had started knocking on doors probably before it was even a option to file to run. So she's a great campaigner. She's a great fundraiser. Great. When she speaks and in debates. So and I love both her and Senator Mathias. I think this it's one of those ones. It's like I don't want to see either one lose, but it's one of these. This is going to be a good campaign.
Yeah.
Because Jim's a relentless campaigner. She's a relentless campaigner. If you're watching like a WrestleMania of political events in Maryland, this is the one.
This is SmackDown, is it?
They're two great people.
Yeah.
Both love their community. Both love the Eastern Shore. Both have strong core beliefs, and they're going to go head to head, and it's going to be interesting.
It's going to be a clash of the Titans.
Yeah.
Now in this race, you'll be down here working for Mary Beth, I assume.
I'll be working for Mary Beth, but mostly I'm working on Governor Hogan's campaign.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to be door knocking in Salisbury and stuff. I'm focusing on Salisbury. I'm going to be probably doing some other stuff for the campaign. But that's, I'll probably be mostly, sticking in my district and in the city.
Okay.
And it kind of gives me an opportunity to get out again and talk to my constituents and support the governor.
Yeah, it's a perfect mix of the two. Mm-hmm. He runs a pretty organized ship, doesn't he?
He does, yes. They're very organized. A lot of people working for him are very committed. And I think the one thing with the governor, and I think, having watched politics almost all my life, because I love politics, is of all the governors that I had been around in the past or anything, is he's probably the most accessible governor that I've ever seen. Like if you, they're just even from a municipal official, when I put that hat on, being at Maryland Municipal League. One of the things they started a couple years ago was the Secretaries Roundtable. So he had all of his secretaries from all of his departments show up at MML. There was an open session, and this year it grew to 2 rooms where the secretaries were there. If your city or town has an issue and you need to go to one of the departments and you've been having problems, you got the head honcho there. You can bring your problem to them. And
Wow.
And they've had a lot of issues get resolved over the past couple of years. And it's one of the most popular events at MML. And I believe they've also rolled it over into Mako. So that's something that there's been a lot of accessibility. A couple of times I've sat down with DNR. I've sat down with, I'm trying to think, there was another one I might have been the MDE. I sat down with them one time because we had some questions about some stuff. So a lot of times I work with the mayor saying, hey, I'm up here at MML. I'm going to go to this. Do you want me to go to speak to anybody about anything specific? And usually, if they can't make it, then I'll go in. And sometimes one year we had 2 or 3 of us go to 2 or 3 different tables to get coverage. So some of that stuff, if your municipality plans, you can really get some things done. And so one of those things I've seen that is because I'm involved in MML, I'm involved in the Eastern Shore Association of Municipalities, which is kind of like the 54 municipalities that cover the Eastern Shore. I'm currently the president-elect, so next year I'll be president.
Congratulations!
Thank you. And so we're getting ESAM is going to be real organized. It's the group that's on there now. We want to be real organized, lobbying our legislatures. MML was very successful this year, getting the highway user revenues back. It was full force. They've been working on it the past couple of years, but this was the perfect year because election year. And honestly, the legislators, the senators and delegates just got tired of us hammering them with it. And then when you have hundreds of municipal elected officials come up there to testify on these bills, I think they were just like, okay.
Enough's enough, right?
It was unanimous coming out of committees, and it was unanimous on both floors of the House and the state legislature to put the highway user revenues back. Okay. So that was a big lift. Carl Anderton, for all 4 years, kept putting the bill in, and finally, persistence. And he was a former MML president. Okay. And so they were all on board supporting him behind that, and it was a big lift for him, and he got it done. And so it was a real big thing to see that accomplished. And so now we're going to use the same thing on some other issues, I think. Okay. So.
Organized. Mm-hmm. Very organized. Yeah. Now I understand that your wife is from Peru.
Correct.
And that you are completely fluent in Spanish.
Well,
both backwards and forwards. That's the rumor.
The rumor is I get by with my Spanish, and I can survive if I had to be down there. Usually when we go, we're there at the most, usually for 2.5 weeks. Yeah. Usually by the end, and if I go now, I can get from town to town with a taxi. I can order my food. I can, do everything I need to do.
Nothing beats immersion.
If there's more than 3 or 4 people talking in Spanish really fast, I'm done.
Yeah.
However, anymore, there's not much that they can get by me. Because I can still pick up and understand what's going on.
What does she think about you and American politics?
Well, culturally for her, in her country, they dealt with the Shining Path for many years. Very violent terrorist organization. And, there was a lady, I can't recall her name, but she was a hero in her area. They have 3 towns that share like a council and a mayor. Mm-hmm. And this lady was elected deputy mayor. And she had been standing up to the terrorists quite a bit, and they kept threatening her. They actually a couple of times took her out of the country, brought her back.
Brave to do.
And finally, they essentially strapped dynamite to her in front of her kids and blew her up. So, when I tell my wife that I'm going to run for something, this is the stuff that she knows that happens to politicians in her country. And what we don't realize is that story, though extreme, happens all over the world. When look in Mexico.
Yeah, you're right.
Any politician that steps up and tries to stand up to the cartels, they usually don't last very long.
That's right. That's right. They kill them. Colombia, it's the same way. Yeah, much of South America has a... by the way, how in the world did they get a name Like Shining Path.
And there's the Spanish name for it, and I guess it was the name that they gave themselves, that this is what we are.
I don't think anybody else would have given them that.
No. There's probably a couple other names I could give them.
Right. Yeah, they were bad in their day. Are they still around?
No, they're not. As an organization, I mean, when Fujimori was president, they systematically went through and I mean they buried towns who were supporting them. And, I mean, some of the stuff that they did to end it was just as bad. But when you talk to people in Peru, my wife's family,
they were in favor of it, weren't they?
Huge Fujimori supporters, mainly because not only did he take care of the terrorists, there was a lot of construction, there was a lot of support from other countries that came in, but he built an extraordinary amount of schools. And, and they can say, oh, yeah, he built that school, And, so a lot of that stuff, these are the people who lived under the oppression of terrorism.
Right.
And, you have someone who came in and used extreme measures. I mean, and to them, he was a hero. And a lot of them were upset when he went to prison. And, it was, it's like, I'm like, but, he did this.
Right,
They're like, well, we don't have the terrorists anymore. That's kind of how they view it.
It's a trade-off.
So it's unfortunate that he had to some extent become a monster to defeat a monster. But
does she find our politics mundane?
No, I guess she finds it interesting to some extent. I think she kind of likes how politics is in Salisbury now, with the working relationship between the council and the mayor, and just everything that's happening as a whole. I think she's excited about the National Folk Festival. She's an artist as well.
Oh boy!
So she's excited about that. And I think when you start stepping up to different levels of government, especially at the national level, I think the conversation and dialogue is just non-productive. I think, in my opinion, and it's very divisive and.
All meant for TV.
It's usually above the governor's level. I think pretty much I've checked out of some of that.
Yeah, I've got several members of my family who've done the same thing, and they're happier, to be very frank with you, that's the case.
I mean, it's real easy to get sucked into this left and right
thing,
and for me, it's my perspective on things is I'm a solution-oriented individual. Mm-hmm. So, when you look at a divisive issue such as immigration, to me, there's an easy solution to it all. I believe what they should do is, or what we could do is, we have a lot of great technology out there with similar sites like Monster.com or something for jobs. And if you could integrate that with the immigration service and have job centers in these countries and in various areas of these countries, where it's technology-based, where they can fill out their application, look for available jobs, connect. If you talk Dorchester County, they literally have nobody to pick crabs because there's nobody here that wants to pick crabs.
That's right.
But there's people that can come from other countries that would like
They'll
to do
it in
the
a
jobs.
second.
So the issue with this visa is, why can't this guy post on that website, I need, 50 people to work for me to pick crabs. If you've got the applications in this country, process the visas, do the background checks, make sure that they don't have any illegal crossings or whatever, connect them with that employer. I think that's like the simplest way to fix it. You fix the problem, the people that want the jobs can find the employer, and you will reduce, in my opinion, the people just coming across the border.
That's right, just willy-nilly.
I think that would, if the process was fixed, I think that the other issue would be fixed as well.
We don't think of processes to fix things very often nowadays, do we?
No, and I think it's a humane way to do it.
Yeah.
And I think the only thing that's got to be worked out between the employer and employees is getting them here.
Yeah. But if you had everything else done, that would be fairly simple.
Yeah. But I think with the technology that we have, it's possible. I mean, it's,
Yeah.
if somebody's, if they're in the system, if they've got a history of coming over and going back legally, and there's no red flags on their application, why would you hold the process up? Why would you limit the number of those visas? The problem is some of those visas are being sucked up by the beaches and the resorts.
Yeah.
Is what I think has happened, and so you have to balance out the supply and demand, and I think it's the most humane way to do it.
Now, would that be for the kids that are working over at the beach?
I think the process could be done for anybody that wants to come here for for seasonal work.
Yeah.
Because those kids are here for 4 or 5 months.
Right, and then they're back.
It's a similar situation with example of picking crabs. It's a seasonal job, and they're not going to be here all year. Unless the person they're work for can apply for an extension to say, hey, can I have this person stay another 3 months or something?
Okay.
I mean, that to me should just be a simple process. And I think sometimes, the overbearing bureaucracy of the federal government, because it's so huge, and there's so many conflicting things in the federal government that, I think we sometimes just need to simplify things.
Interesting. Yeah, you are solutions oriented, aren't
So
you?
that's kind of how I
Yeah.
think, and how I and I get frustrated when I see, and I say this, and I'm a politician, but I get frustrated when I see politicians just blowing air. Yeah.
Well, there's a million different varieties of politicians. I guess they're very much like flies. There's a lot of different types.
Yeah.
Some are good, some will bite you, and
Yeah.
some really won't. Some actually, are there for the right reasons, doing the right things, in the right way.
Yeah.
The American public, I think, is probably at pretty close to an all-time low in their faith in politicians. And it tends to be whichever tribe you're in, the other guys are bad, and it's a very simplistic, non-human way to look at it.
Yeah.
Because people aren't all good or all bad. Nobody is.
Yeah.
But we seem to extract the lesson from our humanity that we want these people to be perfect.
Yeah.
And of course they're not.
No, there's everybody makes mistakes. Everybody's, sometimes we're running behind, sometimes we're ahead of schedule. It's just, nobody, I think we all have our indulgences. We were speaking earlier. Yeah, I like peanut butter chocolate Smith Island cake, and
Who
if
doesn't?
you sat a whole one there in front of me, I would probably try to eat the whole thing. So we all have our things that we probably need to stray
Well,
away from.
I consider that a badge of honor, my friend. And if you're able to get the whole thing down, then even better.
Yeah.
The council, the city council, has a good street rep when it comes to working together. County council, maybe not so much. Maybe not so much.
Yeah, there's, and we have, and I don't know, I think there's a different philosophy between the city and the county on a lot of different issues. We've had our differences over the past few years. But I think how the city as a whole, the mayor's office and the council, have a general respect for one another, and we have a strong line of communication, and it's a professional communication. And we ultimately, when we all first got on at the same time, sat down. We had an open to the public. We had a charrette session. It went all day long, and we talked about a variety of issues, and then we all just went through and prioritized on what we felt was the most important.
Okay.
And so from that session, we developed our plans for the next 4 years of what we wanted to do, where we wanted to go, what some of the projects we were interested in, and I think we're starting to see the fruition of that with the amphitheater almost ready to go, and the National Folk Festival coming. That, because of the unity of the council, and because of we all have the same vision of where we want to see our city in 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now, the legacy we want to leave behind. I think if we didn't have that vision, that common vision, and that commitment, you wouldn't have seen the amphitheater get built. You wouldn't see the National Folk Festival here. And part of that fire is caught on. You got people who want to build high-rises downtown, which is going to change the landscape, help alleviate some of the student housing issues in the city. So I think there's a general just focus of where we want to be and how we want to get there. And I think if you've got everybody on the same team with the same vision, same focus, I think you're going to be successful. I don't really see that much at the county level because there's some friction between the council and the executive office. Now, we don't always agree with the mayor on things, and I think there's right way and wrong way of going about things. Our discussions, are usually one-on-one discussions with the mayor. We disagree. We find a solution that we can all be happy with sometimes, and you're not always completely happy with it, but hey, sometimes you have to make compromises on some things, and then what we really focus on are the issues that we agree on and the issues that we're passionate about, and I think some of it we're passionate about the same things, and I think which is good. I don't as much, unfortunately, follow everything that happens on the county side, and usually get involved when it's something that affects the city. So
directly, in terms of the of this relationship, what would you like to see happen in the next couple? You guys have got a lot on your plate.
Yeah.
The city is vibrant. It's growing. It's evolving. It's moving. What would you like to see in the next couple of years?
Well, I would I want to see the downtown master plan. The streetscapes and the infrastructure and everything. Just once that goes through and that's done, I think you're going to. And if you get one of these projects. The gentleman that wants to do the additional 6 stories on that building, they have an aggressive construction schedule, and they want to be done by next August because they want to have it ready for the opening of. They want to be able to sign leases and have people move in next August before school starts.
You don't mean this August coming up?
Not this August, a year from
now.
So if that project gets off and gets done. And I think one of these is going to be like a domino effect.
Okay.
And I believe it's going to inspire or motivate some of these other individuals to start building stuff. And some of these projects, they should have been done years ago. A lot of these were parking lots where there were buildings, and they say, we're going to put a parking lot here temporarily. 40, 50 years later, it's still there. And so I think it's going to be good. Once it's going to be a good mix of retail, of living space, and I think it's going to be good for the city and good for the heart of the city. I think it's going to, because it's our cultural center. And
well, you've got a lot that's in the planning stages now, and a lot that's getting ready to happen. The city as a whole. The people who live here seem to be very, very positively predisposed to where the city's going.
Yeah.
It's really nice to see that.
Yeah.
It's really nice to see that.
And I think a lot of that goes to having, the unfortunate thing for the years past where it was great TV, sold newspapers, was great ratings for PAC 14. I think those days, hopefully for now, are gone. There was a lot of grudges, a lot of strife. When your city council makes news because there's a fight outside City Hall or something is not, it's not what you want your city to be known for.
I know.
And I think finally I think one of the most important things we did in the city is where we used to have one district that had 4 representatives, and then so it was kind of like a scrum. So you had like that representative and the District 1 rep and the mayor would be elected one year.
Right.
2 years later, you'd have 3 seats up in one district. So the top 3 would win.
Ouch.
And, one year I came in 4th.
Yeah.
And so, the issue was you really had one area of the city that voted a lot, but, they ended up one time had 3 council members from one neighborhood.
Really?
So when you have that concentration of power,
Uh-huh.
I think that's a concern because it makes the rest of the city feel disenfranchised.
Right, yeah.
So taking it out and having 5 districts kind of really forces the representation throughout the city as a whole. And you get different perspectives because, people on the east side of town think differently than the people on the west side of town, and vice versa. And, so I think that kind of, brought more diversity to the council.
Okay.
More diversity in thought, more diversity in perspective. And I think that, I think it's a good thing. And I think it's a good thing that it's like the right mix of people. And everybody gets along, everybody, we can joke with each other a little bit here and there, and it's fun. But we also have, a general respect for each other, and I think that's one of the most important things.
Okay. When you're not politicking and when you're not at work, what do you do?
Well, I'm getting ready to go back to school, finish my degree in September. So that's one of the things I've been preparing for. I work for Walmart, and about a month and a half ago, they announced those who meet certain qualifications, you can go back to school for $1 a day. So I'm taking advantage of it.
Salisbury?
No, it's actually Walmart has a program called Guild, that's a company that they work with.
Uh-huh.
And they have stuff with University of Florida, Brandman University. So I'm going to go to Brandman for now. And so take it one step at a time. So I'm almost there. I got a few more classes to get my associate's degree, and then I'm going to go and get the bachelor's degree.
Well, that'll be fun to
Yeah.
start making those outlines and then flashcards and that'll be fun.
Good times. So.
The city is moving in this direction.
Mm-hmm.
It's got some really interesting things happen. How does that translate to Senior Boda in terms of his political future?
Well, I mean, for me, my goal is pretty much here at city level. I'm going to run for re-election next year, which is everybody's up again in 2019. And you almost like that. It's been that long.
Flew by, didn't it?
It has. And so that's, for that's my next political goal for that. I am involved in Maryland Municipal League and the Eastern Shore Associated Municipalities. So I believe, because we have to have that connection in Annapolis and a lot of when for things that affect us. So that I'm involved in a lot. And then I just got elected to the Republican Central Committee. So one of my goals on that is to work with people and help people who want to become involved politically. And one of that is to help those who want to be candidates. Let's help train people and prepare people for running a campaign, and then help train people who might not want to be a candidate, but hey, I'd like to be a campaign manager, or I'd like to be a treasurer. So treasurers are like really hard to find because especially if it's a state election, the state system is onerous.
Compliance is difficult.
And the program sometimes is hard to navigate, and so we want to help give people. We did some of that last year. And we want to do that over the next couple of years to get some more training on that to help people with that. And so that's kind of, one of the things I like to see is kind of like I see a problem that people says, I want to run for office, but I can't find a treasurer. Well, let's find a few people that maybe, could do that. And so that's kind of one of the things I want to kind of like help with.
Developing the bench.
Exactly.
Very important philosophy.
It is.
Okay. Let's talk to the audience directly. If they want to get a hold of you, and please help me with the pronunciation of your first name.
It's MUIR.
MUIR.
Yep.
Gaelic?
Yes, it is. It was given to my father. My father passed away when I was 5, but that was his name, and then that was a name that was given to me.
Okay. How's your Gaelic?
It's probably the only word I know.
Okay. Okay, for all you out there. Pagamahoan. Anyway, email address and telephone number.
Email address is mbota@salisbury.md, and phone number is 443-397-0247.
You have been a delightful guest. Take 30 seconds and tell the people out there, why should they go Boda?
Well, I love my city, I love my community, and I want to keep serving it and bringing the solution-oriented perspective to the council table for as long as you'll let me.
Well said. Thank you for coming by.
Thank you.
You know, it seems like we've been here before.
I know, it's just like deja vu.
There you, all over again. Hey, this has been Eastern Shore Politics with Billy Earl. God bless you all real good, and señor, con mucho gusto.
Gracias, señor.
Yeah, the revolution starts now.